All right, that was interesting. Hello, folks. Welcome back to Nain's Shorts, or welcome to if this is your first time. If it is your first time, please like and subscribe. And just so you know, we're in the basement of Physique Magnifique in South San Francisco. That's 387 Grand Avenue. This is our home. Come visit us if you're ever in the area. Come play, and let's have a conversation. Now, lately I've been kind of revitalized my whole training ideas and even the methodology that I'm using now, because I'm not trying to emulate my instructor in the way that they move, but I am trying to emulate the mentality of various instructors that I've come across that I consider, well, really good at the craft and have been doing it for a long period of time. And all the little things that they've learned outside of the dojo that have sort of been flung upon them because, well, with age comes certain limitations, certain things that we can't do as well as we used to. And today I wanted to talk about something that I'm calling bifocal perception. Yes, that is a crack on Rick. But the reason why I brought it up that way is because to me that was the first, I guess, the logical place to go. Because I don't know about you, but I've seen my instructor and other instructors do these crazy things that your brain has a kind of trouble processing how they were able to do it. Like, I've gone so far as to do a snapshot. I walked around and I looked and I was like, I can't even see what you hit from where I'm standing, but yet you're accurately hitting what it is that you set out to do. Even though we were in motion, we were moving, and all of a sudden, crack, just accurately hit something that they didn't even use their eyes to see. So why is that? How come? We're trying to dismiss all the mysticism that we kind of hold in martial arts, because yeah, these guys are amazing. The ones that have come before us, the ones that are really good at what they do, you see some of what they do and you're like, holy crap, how is that possible? But let's dismiss that part and really start analyzing what it is. My first thought was, they can't see very well. So obviously, it's not eyesight. And besides, you hear it all the time. We rely on our eyes way too much. Con men and magicians alike use that very principle to trick us into believing whatever it is that they're doing, and that it's the right thing to do. And oftentimes I've been told that good practitioners get their opponents to do the things they need them to do to get the better outcome of the situation. So I'm like, okay, so it's not visual, but then what is it? Is it some extra perception? Or is it just that they've spent so many years doing the same thing, training and practicing, that it just becomes innate? The brain is full of all this information that they may not even be aware it's there. But after a certain point, you realize, okay, the wrist is here, there's the elbow, there's the shoulder, there's the face. And that's what you saw me doing earlier at the beginning. I was closing my eyes, and by the first contact, I wanted to see, okay, can I gauge where that is? Oh, okay, now it's here. Now it's down here. Now I can use all my little bits to make contact. But of course, I can't stop there, because the fighting stuff, the templates, the training I've done before, and I know them well, I'm comfortable there. And there's a lot to be said about finding those uncomfortable places to train in. So I can close my eyes and I can do that there. I can close my eyes and I can do it with Rick and even some of our other students, because I've known them enough that I can play those things, that I can work those things out. But can I do it with somebody that isn't one of our students? Can I do that comfortably outside of the martial arts training? So I did exactly that. I found myself on the treadmill. I was on a 11% incline, about 3 miles per hour, a nice stride, just trying to warm up before my workout. And it it dawned on me to close my eyes and then analyze what happened in my brain while I was doing this. I fell off 3 times. No, seriously, I fell off 3 times. I didn't actually fall and get hurt, but I found myself at the end of the treadmill, and by the time I realized it, I caught myself, and, well, I'm uninjured. Thank you for your concern. But a lot of interesting things happened in my brain as I did that. And I'll try to explain them as best as I can. I'm not an expert in this. This is just me pushing myself to understand what the hell's going on up there in Nain world. And the first thing that I noticed is a disorientation. The moment I close my eyes, because I'm walking and I'm not very comfortable in that position, going up an incline at a good steady speed, I lost my sense of orientation. And that's a big part. Your eyes play a big part in telling you whether you're upright, whether you're laying down, whether you're sitting down. That is your gauge. You don't need to see the details of anything. You just need to have enough of a marker to say, okay, this is where my level is. These are where my eyesight is. I know I'm level there. Whenever that changes dramatically, our brains get rattled and we don't act as well. So that was the first thing I noticed. Okay, so it took me a while to kind of get comfortable with walking. Right. Then I noticed that my feet became more sensitive. Now, I don't know if they became more sensitive or just my brain started noticing more, but I started feeling how much pressure I was actually putting on my feet, how quickly my joints had to move to maintain that speed. All of a sudden, because I closed my eyes for a few moments, I felt like I had to work harder just to maintain the same level of speed and the balance. And then before I knew it, I was at the end of the treadmill and I fell down. Because I felt like I was moving at the right pace. In my head, I thought I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm right in the middle where I was, where I closed my eyes. But it turned out that it wasn't. So something was missing. And it was very uncomfortable to do. So I tried it a second time after kind of going through this process in my head. And then I started realizing, okay, well, if I just put one finger on one of the rails, just one finger, that was enough for me to have a good sense of where I need to be, but it still felt like I was working harder. Like maybe my brain was starting to use the other senses more rather than just my eyesight to maintain that balance. And I thought, hey, maybe that's a cool way to kind of get the other perceptions involved in your fight, because at one point when you're this close, you can't use your eyes anyways. So you have to use something else to understand what's going on in that movement. And many of us, ourselves included, have done sensitivity training, sensitivity drills as to push and pulls, circular movements, at what point can you extend, at what point can you compress, all these things that we've done, but again, we've done them in a controlled environment. What sort of uncontrolled environments have you done some of these exercises? Because I know I'm not the only one, or at least I hope I'm not the only idiot that does stuff like this. Because no, actually, I don't care. I don't care if I feel silly, because this is me trying to up my game as much as I possibly can in a place where I'm not comfortable. Because I did it on the treadmill, I fell down 3 times, but I started to really understand the way that my brain has to work in order for the things to make sense. Because eventually, as my eyes were closed, my brain started to create an image. Because the thing is that your eyes are still working. They just have shutters over them. You can still see everything, which is the back of your eyelid that just blocks your view from everything else. So your brain, or at least my brain, automatically started creating images as to what was in front of me. At one point I would speed up and I would hit that bar where you're supposed to hold on to because I was moving faster than the treadmill. I had to reimagine at what speed I was actually going, at what speed I was actually moving. And it made me think back to one of the lessons that I've had before, where it was said to me that your brain doesn't know how to tell the difference between something going fast and something going slow. It's just depending on how much information it knows to understand at any given point. So then I started thinking, okay, where else can I do this? So then I closed my eyes in front of a heavy bag. I was punching it, and at the beginning it was fine, but for those of you who have hit heavy bags before, it will eventually start swinging. Now, these things have bungees, so they're always going to come back to a relatively center place. But if you continue hitting and kicking a heavy bag, it's going to swing, and it's going to go in different directions. It's going to go elliptical, it's going to go back, it's going to go forward, depending on where you make contact. And it is a lot harder to gauge the distance and where something is. So it's a lot easier to get hurt. And I think that's a very important point to make when doing these things, when training anything, really, anything new, anything that you're not comfortable with. If you don't understand enough of it, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that particular training. Maybe you need beginning stuff more before you move on to something that's more tactile, something that's going to actually push the sensitivity boundaries that you have at that point. Because as I was throwing a kick, the bag was coming in and it hurt a little. I wasn't doing it hard, but I can see myself getting hurt if I was to try to go really hard and just swing as hard as I can with my eyes closed at a heavy bag that's what? 200 pounds, 250 in weight swinging at me. But it did help my brain start figuring out, okay, what is the movement of something that's fixed on a ceiling, that's swinging in a relative pattern, or at least in a relative amount of space. So it really focused me on being able to move and using everything I possibly can to gauge where that is. How quickly, if this punch made good contact, how quickly can I throw my kick? If my kick made good contact, how quickly can I come up with a different combination ahead of it? So these little things started playing out in my head in reference to it. And the culmination of what you saw earlier at the beginning, that was me just further exploring. But again, this is where I'm comfortable doing it. It helped that I was in an uncomfortable place practicing. Because here's the thing, we can do things in class. Great. And we can do things with the people that we know how to play with, and it's awesome. But the moment that you go outside of that, which is cross-training with somebody you've never trained before, or even being in a real fight, or even in a tournament, you are no longer in front of somebody who you know what they can and can't do. And that may be the reason why so many times I've seen people forego techniques and just swing away, or just throw haymakers. Because they know how to do all those things when they're comfortable, not when they're uncomfortable, not when they're in something new against someone they don't know. And then maybe we just revert back to that. So I started thinking, what if we then introduce the discomfort in everything that we do? And it made me think about playing with my instructor, and not just him, also Danny, who will tell you that my instructor is sloppy as shit. But he makes it work. He makes it work for him because of his physical discomforts. Because fighting does take a certain amount of energy, and again, you get to a certain age, or because of certain injuries, you may not have that energy, you may not have that mobility. But for someone like me who does, I think I take it for granted, just like I took my sight for granted when I was walking on that treadmill, thinking that, okay, it's just going to be a simple translation. Oh, I close my eyes, I'm still doing it. No, it's not. There's a lot that happens in the brain that we don't fully understand. I'm sure I can look at the science of it, which probably go way over my head, and then it wouldn't be practical. So I invite the rest of you, what sort of exercises do you do that make you uncomfortable, that put you in an uncomfortable situation, to see if you can actually pull off the things that you train? Because like I was saying, as I'm playing with these people, I block one thing, I counter, they block, I block, counter, we're going back and forth with a few volleys, and I start feeling good. I start feeling, yeah, I got this, and smack! I get hit out of nowhere. And it just dawned on me that that's because I became complacent, even in that volley. I became so comfortable with the idea that I got this, that I missed the thing that knocked me out. I missed the thing that hurt me. Now imagine if you do that in a street fight. You get so comfortable, you're moving, you dodge something, you hit the guy, and you're good, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I got this, and you get stabbed. It seems like a bit of an extreme situation, but it does happen, and has happened to train martial artists, to train athlete fighters. And again, it's that discomfort. But when you're weary, when you're concerned, when you're like, okay, until this is done, I should be concerned about what's going on. Not worried, but aware. hey, there's two hands. I touched one, that means there's another hand coming. Oh, I know where the hands are. What about the feet? And until that is completely nullified, until that fight is completely over, that threat is still real. And I just realized, just a second, that leads into the mentality that we were talking about last time, about these older fighters that don't really care anymore. And maybe that's the mentality that I need to start harboring in that moment. I don't care what happens next. I'm only concerned with what's happening now. And that little sense of discomfort to say, okay, I'm in a bad way. I need to go until I'm completely clear. And even then, like they do in Kaju, after you do your 13 hits to the nuts, you look around. There's a lot to be said about that mentality, and there are arts that teach little bits here and there about that sort of stuff. And I'm noticing the importance behind it. So maybe those are things that you guys have trained and have forgotten, or maybe not put enough attention to. Maybe this is reminding you of certain things that you learned in your beginning lessons that you now maybe take for granted. Because I'm starting to see that those things are so much more valuable than we give them credit for. And here I am, not inventing anything new. I'm not doing anything that other people haven't done already and probably can explain far better than I, but I'm doing it for me. I'm exploring it so I can get it, so I can create a master's mentality of what it is to practice my art, why I practice my art, and how I'm going to use it down the line, if I have to. Because ultimately, I don't want to, but if I don't think about these things, it may not be available to me when I do need it. And maybe then it'll be too late to regret. So this is the path that I've chosen. This is where my mind has gone and my training has led me to. Hopefully it helps you in some way, and if it doesn't, I hope at least it was entertaining. But thank you for listening and watching another one of Nain's shorts. Don't forget, June 4th coming up, we do have the I guess it's a Kali Conversation gathering. It's a fundraiser seminar because this is all out of pocket, and we do hope to see you there. We have a great lineup, 5 different instructors: Kelly Kusumoto, we have Nicholas Moreno, we have Bob Gomez, we have Conrad Bowie, and our very special friend Dennis Duarte going to be on the mat showing what he can do, because it's about them and it's about you. It's what we can pass on to the rest of you, and hopefully by being there, you guys can help us continue doing these videos and continue putting out good content. Just recently we went to the opening of the Bruce Lee Museum, which was a wonderful, wonderful event. Look out for that. We will have a special episode on that as well. And whenever you can, go visit it. I believe Monday to Friday it's open. It's only $10 to get in San Francisco. Clay Street, I believe. wearebrucelee.org will have all the information for you, so please check it out. And there is a donation button for Nain Short as well as Kali Conversation, so check that out too. Skip your coffee this week and just add that to the till, and we'd greatly appreciate it. Anything you can do, we do really, really appreciate it, and it does go a long way in helping us continue the things that we do. So thank you very much again for joining me. Till the next one, we say 3, 2, 1, cut!